I'm Jim McLaughlin. Welcome to Connect, your guide to community engagement. We've been showing you ways to get involved in Southwest Florida for the past few years, and during that time we've heard from some of you, and we've learned that you'd like us to delve a bit deeper into some of the realities of our unique region. In this episode, we're taking you to Immokalee, an unincorporated part of Collier County that is rich in history and ripe with a culture unique to Southwest Florida. The citrus and vegetable industries account for billions of dollars worth of business. With it comes thousands of seasonal farm workers who not only contribute to the vibrancy of the community's culture, but also impart some unique social justice challenges through the area. 17 years ago, a small group of workers began meeting weekly in a room borrowed from a local church to discuss how to better their community and their lives.
In 1996, Romeo Ramirez came to Florida from Guatemala. He wanted a better life for his family. He chose to work in Immokalee.
Bueno, la primera vez que yo llegué aquí a Immokalee. Llegué como es un pueblo conocido por su cara de la industria, que es una industria grande. Entonces llegué yo y muchos otros compañeros para igual trabajar, para ya luego empezar a vivir normalmente como un trabajador del campo.
Romeo found work, as agriculture contributes almost $1 billion of sales revenue to the Southwest Florida economy. Immokalee produces the bulk of the tomatoes in the United States from November through January. But Romeo wasn't prepared for the harsh realities of migrant farm life. He describes cramped living conditions, with families, sometimes multiple families or even strangers, living together in tiny homes and trailers.
No solamente aceptar estas condiciones de vivir en estas condiciones, sino tenerte que acostumbrar, salir a buscar trabajo diario. Porque el trabajo que tienes no es un trabajo que te garantice, trabajo como un empleado de la compañía que te va a garantizar por lo menos los 9 meses que es la temporada aquí. Es una aventura de todos los días, si hoy agarras o no vas a agarrar, entonces tienes que correr con la misma suerte de que todos los días vas a poder agarrar. Y eso va a depender del contratista, quien te va a contratar, si te va a dar trabajo hoy o no te va a dar trabajo.
It's a system that hasn't changed much since journalist Edward R. Murrow investigated the life of the migrant worker in 1960. Workers depend on labor contractors or crew leaders to find work, busing them to farm sites. This broker isn't hired by the grower, but provides an easy way for farmers to get the seasonal labor they need for the short time they need it, at low cost. For workers, this system extends periods of labor, enabling them to work at other farms once a particular region has been exhausted. Romeo says depressed wages for farm work make it hard to accomplish what he came to Immokalee to do: send money home to family.
Entonces, cuando te enfrentas a este trabajo, el trabajo va a ser la pizca de tomate. ¿Qué pasa cuando tú trabajas en el tomate? Tener que, ahora sí, acostumbrarte a recibir un precio de la cubeta que es 40 y 45 centavos, que no alcanza para el sustento de una persona, ya sea individual o para una familia.
Romeo is one of 4,000 members of the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, a community organization made up of Latino, Mayan Indian, and Haitian immigrant farm workers. The CIW works to improve conditions for laborers and to bring an end to any workplace violations that at their worst include indentured servitude or forced slavery in the fields committed by some corrupt labor contractors. Together with Interfaith Action, a student alliance, the CIW has launched the Campaign for Fair Food, demanding a wage increase of a penny per pound for tomato pickers. They are also pushing for businesses to accept a code of conduct to discourage any worker abuse.
The rate that most tomato pickers receive is just 40 to 50 cents for every 32-pound bucket of tomatoes. And back in 1978, workers also earned 40 cents per bucket. And so if you think about inflation back in 1978, 40 cents went a whole lot farther than it does today.
Brigida says the campaign focuses attention on large producers of tomatoes, retail companies who buy them in bulk. The CIW is organizing public demonstrations in an effort to put pressure on retailers. This vigil was aimed at the public supermarket chain.
And so the idea of the Campaign for Fair Food is that the large buyers, who are really the ones who are benefiting from the farm workers' poverty, should rectify that by paying an additional penny more per pound that would go directly to improve farm workers' wages.
A spokesperson with Publix says the supermarket chain doesn't want to become involved in a labor dispute that should be settled between workers and growers, and that they don't set the market value nor determine the price of tomatoes. Economist Dr. Fritz Roca with the Southwest Florida Research and Education Center located in Immokalee also has some concerns about the impact the campaign could have on agribusiness.
My concern is that many of these agreements have been agreed to simply to avert or avoid negative PR. It's pretty ugly, it's pretty unpleasant to see a bunch of protesters outside your restaurants claiming that you abuse or facilitate or enhance worker abuse. So it becomes a very easy business decision to say, well, okay, we'll just pay the penny a pound and we can then claim a little good PR on that front. But over time, if there's no sustaining economic reason to keep that agreement going, then these companies are going to be looking elsewhere to buy their tomatoes. And ultimately, the farm workers that are being employed in South Florida are not going to see the benefit.
The CIW has announced a three-way agreement between themselves, Compass, and East Coast growers for improved conditions. Compass, one of the largest food service companies in the nation, agreed to pay the extra penny per pound.
And it's really is exciting news, and part of the reason it's so exciting is because for the past 2 years, the Florida Tomato Growers Exchange, which is a lobby group for the tomato industry, has essentially halted the passage of the penny per pound from the companies to the workers through threats of a fine if the tomato growers would pass that on.
Jordan Buckley of Interfaith Action says the campaign is seeing some change in the industry.
Right now we have McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, Whole Foods, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, KFC, Long John Silver's. All of them have signed agreements with the Coalition of Immokalee Workers with an agreement that ensures that workers are paid a fair wage, and also that there's a code of conduct which would ensure that if any sort of severe labor abuses take place, there would be a market consequence for those growers guilty of those abuses.
Jordan believes it's essential for people to think about where our food comes from, and the farm worker enduring long hours for low wages, making sure that this produce gets to our dinner table. As for Romeo Ramirez, he's also a DJ at a radio station run out of the CIW headquarters. He hopes to be a mouthpiece for change.
Bueno, todo lo que la gente le gustaría ver es que en un futuro el trabajo, la mano de obra agrícola, que hoy en día no es una mano de obra reconocida como un trabajo normal, está visto por nuestra población un trabajo de tercera clase, cuando la realidad de esos trabajadores son lo más importante para el sustento de toda la nación. Entonces,
Also of historic concern has been the fate of the children of the farm workers.
Gerardo Reyes came to this country with the hope of achieving the American dream. He left his family and culture in Mexico to earn a better living in the fields of Immokalee and to send money back home. He was disappointed to find abuse in the system.
When you arrive here, you realize that the saying that goes around here, that you can be whatever you want if you work hard, becomes a really strong contradiction when you start to work in the fields. Because what you're going to find is a situation of stagnant wages, situations of checks not being paid to you, situations of violence that we have seen also in the past, and specifically in the cases of slavery, extreme situations of abuse.
The modern-day slavery Gerardo is referring to is also called human trafficking. People being tricked or coerced into leaving their home and then compelled to work for little or no payment. They are exploited and often forced to live under inhumane conditions. Gerardo's witnessed abuse and lived with victims who escaped from forced labor. This experience led him to join the Coalition of Immokalee Workers to expose and fight the problem. For the last 10 years, it's been the job of Chief Assistant U.S. District Attorney Doug Malloy to prosecute perpetrators of human trafficking. He says the crime often begins in a victim's home country.
But someone that they trust in their home country says that you could come here to America and work in the service industry or waiting tables or promise of work in the fields, and they'll pay a nominal fee, like a $500 debt, to be transported here. Once they're here, they find that their debt is increased to $5,000. I mean, who are they going to go to? I mean, they're here illegally.
Since so many workers are undocumented or vulnerable in other ways, they are often afraid to speak out. This keeps the abuse hidden.
The slaver also puts additional charges. They charge for housing, they charge for a false green card. They charge for a number of things that sometimes is kind of outrageous. The last case we did, they charged $15 for the use of a hose to shower. And so their debt really never goes down.
Malloy also says the slavers can be people they trust. In Southwest Florida, many victims hide in plain sight.
They're afraid of retribution against their family by people related to the slavery organization in that home country. So they don't feel they can come forward. They also don't want to give up hope that they eventually may actually reach their goal of paying off the slavery debt and being able to send money back to their family.
Florida's most recent human trafficking conviction is known as the Navarrete case, where 12 men were locked in trucks overnight, forced to use the bathroom inside. They were beaten and abused.
One of the things that is unique about that case is that not only were they illegal immigrants, but they also had alcohol problems. So the slavers played on the alcohol problem that they had, so they would keep them, they would give them alcohol during the course of the day and then a lot at night to continue to enslave them.
Giselle Rodriguez is with the Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking. This group is one of many organizations trying to help victims. She visits farms across the state handing out water bottles, not only to keep workers' bodies hydrated, but to also encourage victims to come forward. She believes the community has a responsibility by knowing the warning signs.
Victims will not make eye contact. They seem very depressed, very anxious, nervous. They're not going to want to talk or communicate. You may actually see signs of physical abuse, marks, bruising, welts.
Gerardo Reyes now investigates cases of human trafficking in hopes of educating and empowering other farm workers. He says the life and the job of the migrant worker deserves respect.
It's frustrating because the reality is that we do one of the most important jobs that could exist, which has to do with food. Putting the food on the table, for us, that's something sacred. So I think that there's a lack of understanding on the importance of the labor we do. An element of dignity that has been stepped on for many decades. Historically, that's how the food is being produced. And I think that we're in a time to change that. We have to change that.
Regarding immigrant status, one woman has chosen to dedicate her life to effecting change in the lives of others.
This is CBS Report.
It's been nearly 50 years since Edward R. Murrow's groundbreaking documentary, Harvest of Shame,
You have $11 in your pocket.
portrayed the plight of America's migrant farm worker.
This is Florida.
All right, hello.
These are citizens of the United States, 1960.
This is Immokalee, Florida, 2009. They still gather pre-dawn, hoping to be chosen to board a bus that will take them to work, reaping a harvest that will put food on our dinner tables.
Hello, Hilda. ¿Cómo estás? Buenas.
Hilda Flora Perez is a worker from Guatemala. She shares this home with her sister and her sister's family. Her new baby means unexpected time off. It will be short-lived.
She will be pretty much getting up in the morning at 3 o'clock, getting her ready by 4, then going to across Main Street where there's a store, there's a big parking lot. Pretty much you go and wait, and if you're lucky, you get in the bus. It's pretty much first people that get in the bus will get hired or will have a job for that day, and it's just on a day-to-day basis.
¿Este es el salón de usted?
This is her room.
Nora Curiel works for RCMA, or the Redlands Christian Migrant Association, a nonprofit organization creating opportunities for migrant and rural children, like Hilda's daughter, Dina Mar.
What I do is pretty much empower our families to get ahead in life. We get really involved socially with the families as far as we know, from where they came from to how they are today. Kind of get to be involved with them in a personal level.
Nora's goal is to help families break the cycle of poverty so Dina Mar can have the life she chooses.
It helps break the cycle by pretty much giving them the education, giving them the empowerment, the trust that they have, that they know that if I feel like crying today, I know that I can always go to RCMA and just have somebody hear me.
The daughter of migrants, Nora knows firsthand the struggles. 65% of migrant children who enter kindergarten drop out before they graduate. More than half live well below the poverty line. Many houses still don't have running water, and one room sleeps many. Nora lived in migrant camps. Following the harvest from place to place, she was often forced to miss school.
It wasn't easy. It was really hard. I can relate to what the life that parents have and what their ambition is to get ahead in life for their kids.
In many ways, not much has changed, but in many ways, much is different. This is RCMA's Early Learning Center at nap time. Children are cared for, educated. From 75 kids in 1965, RCMA has grown to 8,000 children in child development centers in rural regions across the state. 2 charter schools serve kindergarten through 8th grade, where children get a solid future foundation.
We're the parent that's not there because parents are working. So we do all the things, the stimulation, the language exposure, the toys, the variety of things.
Maria Jimenez is the director of the Immokalee Community School.
Our motto is to open doors to opportunities. So we want our kids to have choices. We want to maximize the choices in the lives of the children we serve. If they choose to work in farm work, that it's a choice, not the only alternative.
The charter school is a place where it's okay to be poor, okay to live in a cramped trailer. These are the homes directly across from the school.
Being poor means sometimes only having food, water, and shelter. I often tell people that the folks in Immokalee are at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They are really just struggling for food, water, shelter. The majority of the families and people who live here are just trying to keep a roof over their heads and their families fed. That if that can be accomplished, then the day's work was worth it.
And like the RCMA, the Guadalupe Center believes the best way to break the cycle of poverty is through education. Here, the children learn so much more than just their ABCs.
Good morning, Katie.
Every day, children are greeted with a friendly face. Daycare and preschool programs are just some of the many that promote self-sufficiency and social change. In 1982, the Guadalupe Center first opened its doors as a soup kitchen. The center still provides hot meals for hundreds every day. For some, this will be their only meal.
That's a blessing from the Lord because everybody don't have this to go to. Everybody don't have a place to go eat in their town. Sometimes do, sometimes don't, and it's a blessing.
Nourishing the body and sustaining so many families, more than 50,000 people a year.
The goal of the soup kitchen is to provide residents who don't have the means, for cooking at home or the finances to purchase food, a hot meal during the course of the day. And we also have bread and baked goods that have been donated by some of the large grocery chains that they're able to take home with them.
Terry Aviles is Guadalupe's Client Services Director. Also the daughter of migrants, she remembers what it's like to feel hungry.
There was times that we didn't have food in the refrigerator, and my sister and I, we fought over food. And so that's, when I think about it now, it's sad. But at the time, that was our way of life, so we didn't know any better.
More than a meal, the Guadalupe Center also has a shower and clothing program.
It's a very basic need that so many people take for granted, you know, that they can, you know, run in and take a shower, change their clothes. And for a lot of residents in Immokalee, they don't have that luxury.
The center is also home to Southwest Florida's largest Thanksgiving dinner, providing a hot meal to about 4,000 who start lining up at daybreak. A back-to-school shoe program, made possible through community donations, kicks off the school year. For older kids, a high school tutor program helps reinforce the center's academic foundation. Students like Juanita Meza earn money mentoring younger children. In turn, Juanita received scholarship money and after earning a college degree, returned to Guadalupe to work. Her cycle of poverty is broken.
And I try to encourage like the younger people that are within my community to, you know, go for such a program because you benefit so much from it. And they really, really need this help. So that's where we came in and, you know, we helped them with whatever, like, I guess, give them more confidence in what they're doing.
I realize that it is very, very important to reach those children first because in the end, they're the ones that are going to grow up and they're the ones that have the potential of breaking that cycle. So now, looking back, I think to myself, boy, you know, that is the key. That is the key to breaking the cycle of poverty. It really is.
Both the Guadalupe Center and RCMA rely mostly on community donations, but the need remains great.
Poverty is hard on kids. It certainly limits your access to health care. It limits your access to certain nutrition. It limits your access to recreation and leisure. You know, our kids don't have summer vacations. Our kids don't have piano lessons. Our kids don't go to soccer practice.
We need people in the fields to work. We need agriculture. Don't get me wrong, that's what they used to say. We need that. But you choose the life you want, that kind of life, or you want a better life for yourself and your future kids.
It's all about choice.
It's about choice.
Regarding immigrant status, one woman has chosen to dedicate her life to effecting change in the lives of others.
For over 25 years, Sister Maureen Kelleher has defended the rights of undocumented immigrants in the Immokalee region. Working predominantly with women and children, often the victims of domestic violence, Kelleher goes far beyond her responsibilities as the managing attorney of Legal Aid Services of Collier County. As both a respected lawyer and a Catholic nun, her legal work seamlessly complements her responsibilities as a Sister of the Sacred Heart of Mary.
The church is trying very hard to get even Washington to listen and to get people out of the shadows, get people their papers. They're here, they're working, they pay their taxes, they're going to be reviewed, they're going to be fingerprinted. So we're not talking about a criminal class because they'll never get through once they apply and they're fingerprinted.
As a veteran immigration attorney, Sister Kelleher has encountered countless cases concerning everything from residency status to human trafficking. Of particular interest to her are the scant options facing graduating undocumented high school students. The DREAM Act, a bill introduced in Congress in March of 2009, would offer them hope.
They basically says if a child's here before age 16 and graduates from our schools, high schools, and at that time will either go into the military or go into further education like community college or university. After they complete 2 years, they not only have the temporary card for those first 2 years, but they could get a right to apply for a permanent card. Now I'll tell you where it's at right now. Private monies are coming behind some of these students, and these students are able to get themselves private scholarships. And out of this town, we've had someone go all the way through Dartmouth.
Despite support from Pentagon officials, eager to tap into a vast new demographic of potential military recruits, the DREAM Act ranks low on the congressional agenda, and there is little indication as to when it will be addressed. Nonetheless, exceptional students have overcome the odds and managed to enroll at a college or university.
I was pretty much in limbo, you know, like I had all this, you know, credits, I had all these AP classes, a high GPA, I graduated with a 5.3 GPA, and pretty okay SAT scores. And so I came to that point where I'm like, okay, you know, I have all of this, but I really want to pursue that dream. I really want to go to college. And right now, all the doors are closed. And so, you know, all of a sudden, you know, I believe, thank God, you know, it's just the divine thing that happened, that thanks to these people that were surrounding me and that appreciated all the hard work that I was doing, kind of helped me out, you know, getting through all this college process. And then college came out and offered a scholarship, and, you know, I was able to go in.
For Sister Kelleher, the DREAM Act is a long overdue and exceedingly necessary amendment to U.S. immigration laws. She sees it as an opportunity for undocumented residents to lead productive and fulfilling lives.
It's hard, but I'm just very thankful that I'm there. Every single day I'm there. I just love it. You know what I mean? I do the best I can. You know, for me, it's a privilege. You know, for me, waking up every day at that dorm, it's just a huge privilege. You know, and I thank God every day that I'm allowed to be in there.
To learn more about these grassroots efforts to improve the lives of migrant farm workers, go to WGCU.org and click on Connect. You can also watch any Connect segment anytime online. And learn more about issues like these by tuning into our popular call-in radio show, Gulf Coast Live, weekdays at noon on 90.1 FM. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jim McLaughlin. See you next time on Connect.